Don't forget to subscribe and tell me where you're listening from. If you've ever had a gift feel heavier than it should, this story's for you. My name is Arthur Hale. I turned 68 on a Thursday that smelled like leaves burning and coffee cooling too fast. I live outside Bloomington, Indiana, in a one-story ranch that still has Linda's wind chimes on the back porch. The day started with a card from my neighbor, Dot, who insists I'm too thin and feeds me like she's fattening a Christmas goose. It ended with a package on my stoop I didn't order. I knew the handwriting before I knew the weight. Happy birthday, blue ink on a plain white tag. No dad, no XO. Just the words, like they were afraid of me. Ethan's handwriting has a right-leaning stride and a habit of not dotting the I until the next line starts. You don't forget your kid's handwriting, even when you forget where you put your keys. Inside, a limited edition whiskey in a rich green box. Gold letters that tried to make me think the bottle was more important than what it carried. Wax over cork, smooth and expensive. It caught light the way stories do before you read them. I set it on the table and stared. 3 years since the heart attack. 3 years of no alcohol, no salami, no just one anything. Ethan knew. He'd been there when Dr. Cole had said, "We're not discussing preferences anymore. We're discussing biology." He'd scrolled while I nodded, and I'd told myself the scrolling was a shield against crying. You make excuses for your own when you can, until you can't. I didn't open it. The smell of peat ghosts used to make me want a porch. Now, it makes me want a nap. I slid the box to the far end of the table and went back to my coffee. It tasted like the kind of day where you pick a chore and stick with it so the house doesn't eat you. An hour later, I buckled the bottle into the passenger seat of my Chevy out of habit. I was taking it to Robert Carson, my son's father-in-law, because Robert understands 2 things the world keeps trying to forget: how to show up and how to share. He's the kind of man who arrives with a toolbox you didn't ask for and somehow brings the right-sized nut driver you didn't know you needed. The roof Linda and I slept under for 35 years owes him. For more than just shingles, Robert's place sits on a hill that watches town without sneering. White clapboard. Wraparound porch with honest chairs. He opened the door before I could knock. Sawdust, making a constellation on his boots. His eyes went straight to the bottle. "What did you do?" He grinned, stepping aside. "I didn't," I said. "Ethan sent it. I can't drink it." "You can." He took the box like a midwife. "Well now," he said, "he has taste." Or Google. I said we stood in his kitchen tile. I'd laid with him in a week of July heat and let the box sit between us like a nice problem. He read the label. Chinook 12, he read. Double cask. The fancy kind? Fancy enough to make the bourbon boys sniff, I said. He shook his head. "Let's do this right," he said. "I'll save it for Saturday. Boys' poker night. You come. You can sniff and drink coffee. I'll do the sinful part. Deal," I said. "I'll bring Dot's deviled eggs so you boys don't die on my conscience." He slid the bottle into his cabinet like it had told him a secret. We talked gutters and ball games. I left before I stayed long enough to start acting jealous of a bottle. The next morning, the phone rang at 8:05, and names lit the screen the way ghosts do, familiar and not. "Ethan, hey," I said. Careful as a man stepping off a curb he doesn't trust, so he said, bright in a way that made my back stiffen. "How was the whiskey?" "I gave it to your father-in-law," I said. "He loves it. Poker on Saturday?" Silence. "A shape of it." "Then you did what?" Not loud at first, then sharp. "He tried to catch it before it landed and failed." "I mean that school. He'll like it." I didn't fill the gap he left. The older you get, the less you fix sentences that need to learn to stand alone. "You okay?" I asked. "I'm fine," he said too fast. "Just work. Happy birthday, by the way." "It was yesterday." "I know," he said. "I'm work." Love you, he said to a dial tone. There's a way a man's voice gets when he's late for something. It's important and pretending he isn't. That was the voice. I made coffee I didn't need and mowed the back half of the yard because the front didn't criticize me for ignoring it. At noon, Dot came by with a plastic-wrapped plate. Knocked twice like she was the kind of person who can't be surprised. Chicken salad, she said, thrusting it at me. Less mayo, more celery. Doctor's orders. Also, did you get a box yesterday? I saw the man with the brown truck and made a face. Whiskey, I said, from Ethan. Oh, she pressed her lips into a line that means she's trying not to say something and will say it anyway if I don't change the subject. I changed it. Want to come to poker? Make sure the boys don't cheat? She grinned. The boys can't count. I'll clean them out with nickels. Saturday came with 4 men and too many opinions. Poker at Robert's is always more talk than cards. There's Mike from the tire shop, whose laugh sits at the table 5 minutes before he does. There's Jim from the post office, who knows everyone's business and only tells you your own. There's Walt from the fire department, retired, who can recognize a bad idea by the way a man picks up a chair. We played a few slow hands and told the same stories in different shapes. Robert waited for the right moment and then stood ceremony flat on his face like he hadn't planned this for 3 days, gentlemen, he said. On occasion, he brought out the Chinook 12, the way people bring out babies they like more than the people holding them. He set the green box down. The room did that thing rooms do when something nice enters. It leaned closer. Arthur's son sent it, Robert said, lifting the bottle. We'd better not ruin it. Mike, stop breathing. He cut the wax with a paring knife and turned the cork. It gave that small sound good corks give relief and promise. The room smelled at first fruit and smoke and a sweetness that made you think of campfires. You didn't build and apricots you didn't earn. Robert poured into 4 glasses. Mine stayed a dry circle on the table. He winked at me. Smell, he said. Doctors can't take that away. I leaned in. Peat. Vanilla. Something like almonds. Faint. Not loud. Nobody else heard the wrong note. We lifted. Toasts are an old man's sport. 2 absent friends, Jim said. 2 decent roofs, Walt said. 2 deviled eggs, Mike said, already reaching for one. 2 sons who remember birthdays, Robert said, looking right at me. I smiled with the part of my face I keep for public use. They drank. I watched. The first sips of good whiskey turned grown men into poets. Mike said, ooh, like a wheel rolling over something soft. Jim rolled it around his mouth like he was pretending to be a wine guy. Robert closed his eyes and let it sit. His face moved in stages. Pleasure, recognition, something like surprise. Then a flicker. Small enough to miss if you needed to. You okay? I asked. Fine, he said, too quick. He cleared his throat. Smooth, huh? Walt sipped. He made a face like he'd bitten a pencil. What's that sweetness? He asked, nose wrinkling. Not honey? Something. Cheap. Don't be a snob, Mike said. It's fancy. Fancy can be wrong, Walt said, and drank water. 10 minutes later. Robert stood to check the thermostat and had to touch the table to correct an angle his body didn't think was there. Sit, I said without making a scene. I'm fine, he said again, which is a sentence men were taught in 1952 and forgot to retire. His forehead had that sheen I see in summer on men who try to carry lumber alone. Eat something. Dot said from the doorway she'd arrived 20 minutes late with a plastic bag and the unverifiable claim that her radio had to hear the end of a show about tomatoes. She put a hand on Robert's wrist. It was warmer than it should have been. How much did you drink? 2 sips, he said. Lightweight, he tried to grin and failed. I took the bottle. I held it in the light. It looked like whiskey. It smelled like whiskey with a whisper of something. Almond, my nose insisted. Not loud, not certain. Linda used to keep almond extract for cookies. This was not that. Where'd Ethan buy it? Walt asked. Online, I said. Box shipped from Landover, Maryland. Signature required. I signed. Robert excused himself. I followed. In the hallway, he put a hand on the wall and closed his eyes again. He didn't fall. He didn't laugh about not falling. I feel. Weird, he said, not grabbing for a better word. Warm, heavy. We're going to the ER, I said, gentle as a jack under a sagging beam. Right now, I'm fine, he said for the third time, which is how you know a man is not. Walt, I called. Drive at the ER triage always looks like everyone arrived at once and no one knows what order to apologize in. We got a nurse who had a voice like authority wearing comfortable shoes. She took blood pressure, pulse ox, the story, the bottle. Any allergies? She asked. Only 2 being fussed over, Robert said, face gray under the red flannel. What did you drink? She asked me. I didn't, I said. Smelled it. That's all good, she said. She sniffed the open bottle, made a face you only see on people who can smell trouble, and capped it. We're running a tox screen, she said. In the meantime, fluids, labs, they put him on a bed, put a line in his arm, and put monitors on his chest that looked like stickers kids would reject. Walt sat with his arms crossed, like he could hold up a wall from across the U.S. I stepped outside to call Ethan. I didn't want to. I did anyway. He picked up on the first ring. Hey, Dad, he said, too sweet. Robert's in the ER, I said. Calm. After 2 sips of the whiskey you sent. He got dizzy. Nurse didn't like the smell of the bottle. They're running tox. Silence. No shape this time. Then, what hospital? Bloomington, I said. I told you we gave it to Robert. He stopped, restarted. I'm on my way. No apology. Panic not. Grief, strategy. There are differences even phones can hear inside. The ER had moved him to a room with more machines and less charm. A doctor with tired eyes and competent hands introduced herself. Dr. Singh, she said. We're concerned about a possible adulterant. His labs show acidosis. We're starting foampisol while we wait for confirmation. What does that mean? Walt asked. It means the thing that makes some poisons dangerous is what your body turns them into, she said level. We're telling his liver no, so we can say yes to more time, poison, Dot said, mouth tight. Possible, Dr. Singh said. Could be he's sensitive to something. Could be contamination. Could be nothing. We don't guess. We test. They took the bottle to the hospital lab. 20 minutes later, Dr. Singh came back with a face that didn't want to be in this room. Ethylene glycol, she said. Antifreeze. The room tilted in the polite way rooms do for old men who thought they were done being surprised. Walt swore carefully. Put a hand over her mouth and then lowered it because she's a woman who believes faces are for telling the truth, not covering it. You saved him bringing him in fast, Dr. Singh said. The antidote stops the metabolite that does the damage. We'll keep him. We'll do dialysis if we need to. You, she looked at me. You didn't drink any? No, I said. Smelled almonds. That's cyanide, she said. Not antifreeze. You smelled fear. I know the difference, I said. Apparently I don't. She squeezed my arm. You brought him. That's the difference that matters. The police came. They always do when a chemical shows up uninvited. Detective Ruiz had a notebook and a way of standing that didn't threaten unless you needed it to. Mr. Hale, she said. Tell me about the bottle. Gift, I said. From my son? For my birthday? Does your son like you? She asked without malice. Some days, I said. He hasn't liked me as much since I stopped saying yes when his ideas needed money. Interesting, she said. She bagged the bottle like it had sworn at her. We can trace shipments. We can ask questions. We'll need your son's contact info. Ethan Hale, I said. And gave her the number I never stopped knowing even when I forgot why I needed it. He walked in 30 minutes later. Breathless, hair too perfect for a man in a hurry. Dad, he said. Looking everywhere but at me. Is he? He's alive, I said. He will stay that way. He sat. He looked at the monitor like it might tell him who to be. I didn't, he began, then stopped, because I didn't is a hard sentence to finish when you haven't decided if you want to lie. The whiskey had antifreeze in it, I said. You sent it. That's a fact. You can tell me you ordered it from a reseller who did something stupid and I can nod and ask for a receipt. Or you can tell me something harder. You pick. His eyes went slick. He shook his head. I got it from a limited release site, he said. I wanted it to be special. They ship from warehouses. He must have. He let the sentence die. Detective Ruiz watched him with the same face she'd used on the bottle. We'll need information on that site, she said. Emails. Texts. Payment. Of course, he said too quickly. Anything. Walt leaned against the wall and didn't say what I knew he wanted to, that anything from a man like my son often meant as little as possible. I didn't accuse him in a hospital. I'm old enough to know the room you pick to say a sentence matters as much as the sentence. I sat down in a chair and let the machines peck the air. Next door, baby cried because that's what babies do when rooms forget how to hold them. Detective Ruiz asked for the bottles box. I'd left it in my garage after I'd cut the shipping label and thrown it away. She sent a uniform to my place to grab what the trash would give back. I gave him the garage code and pictured Linda's wind chimes in the doorway like a guard. Ethan stood. I should call Grace, he said. His wife, Robert's daughter, a good woman who learned to smile with both lips pressed together because she married a man with ambitions and a map that didn't match the road. She'll want to be here. Call her, I said. Tell her her father's alive. Tell her the bottle's bad. Tell her not to drink anything out of any box until a lab says yes. He nodded, left, came back. He didn't look at me. Dr. Singh came in with a new lab sheet and a face that had decided to be hopeful. His acid base is improving, she said. We started in time. I hadn't taken a full breath since Walt had said sweetness. I took one then, carefully, like it might shatter. Back home, I sat at my table with 2 mugs and my father's hammer. The mugs went back in the cabinet clean. The hammer stayed. When something breaks, I want my hands to remember they can fix. The phone lit. Do you need anything? Walt. I'm crashing 2 hours. Call me if he flinches. Detective Ruiz. We recovered the shipping label from your trash. It was purchased at a pack-and-ship store off I-70. Video pending. Do not discuss this call with your son tonight. Rest. I didn't sleep. I walked the house like men do when the house needs to know they're home. Linda's wind chimes did a soft thing they only do when the night is exactly the right kind. At 2:12 a.m., I wrote 3 sentences on an envelope because generations of hail. Men do better with pen than with breath. I will not drink anything I didn't. Pour. I will not explain away. Almond. I will not let love make me stupid. In the morning, my son would have to choose which room he wanted to stand in, the one with the truth and walls and witnesses, or the one where his story didn't have to be checked by a nurse with good shoes. Either way, I was going to serve coffee out of a clean mug, asterisk. Don't forget to hit subscribe and drop where you're listening from. This is where the pretty bottle turns into evidence and a son's story starts to wobble. Robert stabilized. Overnight, Dr. Singh's voice carried the kind of hope you trust. We started foam-pazole early, she said. Kidneys look irritated, not injured. If labs keep trending right, no dialysis. The word dialysis had sat on my chest like a weight since she first said it. Hearing no attached to it gave me enough air to think further than noon. Detective Ruiz had the bottle bagged and the box in her trunk before dawn. Hospital tox confirms ethylene glycol, she told me, flipping open her notebook. We'll run our own confirmatory panel, but the ER lab has the hit. Tell me again about delivery. UPS, I said. Shipped from Landover, Maryland. Signature required. I signed. Which means it came through a pack-and-ship hub before UPS ever saw it, she said. If the sender is in a real warehouse, there's a storefront. We pulled the label from your trash. It's a generic counter label, no corporate indicator. We're pulling video now. I drove home to shower and make a list. Old foreman's trick. When the job gets complicated, write down the bolts you can turn. Freeze credit again. Already done, but I checked the locks anyway. Call my bank. Set flags. Require in-person verification for wires and cashier's checks. No POA is honored without legal review. Call a lawyer. If Detective Ruiz was going to start asking real questions, I needed my edges sanded before someone decided to climb them. I called Liz Parker down in Indianapolis neighbor. Dorothy once called her the woman you want when people start trying to sign you up for something you didn't ask for. She answered on the second ring. Frank, she said. Start at the end. Bottle had antifreeze. Robert's stable. Detectives on it. Ethan sent the bottle. He's already started talking about a limited release warehouse. You're not accusing him over a hospital bed, she said. Good. Next. Bank flags. I drove to Hoosier Mutual and sat in branch manager Klein's office while she typed and nodded. We'll put a thing of beauty flag on your profile, she said. Means any wire or cashier's check over 1,000 requires you in person, ID, and a code word. And we won't accept a power of attorney without me speaking to your attorney in verifying capacity. Code word. She asked. Chimes, I said. Linda's wind chimes rattled a little in memory. All caps if you can do it. She grinned. Chimes it is. I snapped a photo of the flag note on her screen and sent it to Liz. She replied with a thumbs up and a calendar invite. Trust meeting Monday, 9 a.m. Bring coffee? Detective Ruiz called back around lunch. We have video, she said. Pecan ship off I-70, 2 days before delivery. Man in a ball cap pays cash to box and ship a green liquor box. Clerk prints a UPS label. I need you to come take a look. I met her in a windowless room at the station that smelled like coffee and old carpet. On the screen, a grainy recording of a counter. The clerk teenager with a bun and a nose ring tapped keys. A man set a green box on the counter. Ball cap pulled low. COVID-era mask still hanging under his chin like a fashion choice that missed its season by 2 years. Zoom on his hands, Rui said. The tech did. People forget gloves. People forget rings. That's where any benefit of the doubt went to die for me. The man's hands had a small white scar shaped like a crescent. On the inside of the left thumb table saw a bite from 10 years ago in my shop when Ethan decided he didn't need to listen to a single lecture on kickback. I'd held his hand while he got 5 tidy stitches and paid the ER bill in cash to avoid explaining to his mother. The scar flashed on that camera like a name tag. He paid cash. He pointed at the label, said something we couldn't hear. The clerk nodded. He put the box on the back counter. Camera angle caught the cashier screen ship to Arthur Hale. Return. Rutherford Logistics. 633 West. The rest blurred. Not a warehouse then? I asked. Shell, Ruiz said. There's no Rutherford Logistics in the state registry. We ran the phone. It's a prepaid that died last week. We'll subpoena the store's audio. Sometimes they keep it separate, but the video is enough to ask better questions. She paused. We'll interview your son after we talk to the clerk. Not yet. We want the clerk first. I stared at the paused frame. The scar sat there like it had always belonged to someone else's kid. I hate admitting I wanted it to. Ethan showed up at the hospital that afternoon with Grace's wife, Robert's daughter. Grace is a decent woman whose patience is a miracle built of 10,000 small, honest decisions. How is he? She asked. Her hands were steady. Her eyes weren't better, I said. Tired. He'll grumble about the jello by morning. Good, she said. And then, Ethan said he bought from a limited site. He said he's cooperating. Detective Ruiz had told me not to discuss the video. I didn't, he should, I said. The police are methodical people. They like papers. Grace exhaled like a person who'd been holding her breath since Saturday. We had a fight, she said simply. He thought I was accusing. I told him I was asking him to be a man. Those are sometimes the same thing, I said. Inside, Dr. Singh cleared Robert for the step-down unit. He was cantankerous enough to be safe complaining about the scratchy blankets and whispering conspiratorially. To Walt, that hospital eggs were a crime against chickens. The danger had moved from his blood to the room. That night, Ethan asked if he could come by my place. I said yes because men have to sometimes offer a table to a boy they can't recognize anymore. I set the kitchen up like I set a job site when I suspect someone's going to try to sell me on a shortcut. Clean table, 2 glasses of water with seals intact. No coffee, no whiskey, no excuses. I put a legal pad in the middle and 2 pens that didn't skip. Linda's wind chimes did their small song because the night had a breeze that remembered old houses. He came in looking like work had been unkind to him. Tie pulled, hair tugged, shadow on his jaw that wasn't fashion. "I'm sorry," he said before he had to be told. "I've been trying to say it without saying it. I'm sorry for sending the bottle. I didn't know. I wanted to do something right. I didn't know." "Sit," I said. "He did. Tell me the whole timeline," I said. "From I saw it on a site, 2 ups handed it to me. Write it down. Make it boring. Boring stories are harder to lie in." He didn't bowg. He wrote dates, a site named Collector's Hearth, a price $349, a flash drop link, an order confirmation that looked like it had been designed by someone who liked fonts more than accuracy. He wrote, "Shipment delayed due to warehouse logistics." Then, picked up a replacement from a pack and ship. He crossed it out, scratched at it, left it visible anyway. "What does that mean?" I asked, tapping the scratch out. "The site emailed me," he said, "too fast now. Said they'd messed up the ship date. Offered to ship a replacement from a local warehouse if I wanted it fast." I said yes. They said, "Cash at a pack and ship." I went, "I know, shady, but I wanted it to be there on your birthday." He wasn't improvising. He'd rehearsed. You can hear it when a sentence tries to put on sincerity like a new jacket. It fits, but not in the shoulders. "Emails?" I asked. "My phone," he said. Here, he slid it over. Already on the inbox. A thread with collector shirth, pm.me. Logos in the signature were slightly wrong the way counterfeiters make the Nike swoosh into. Something a little too angular. "Mind if I forward these to my attorney?" I asked. He flinched. "Attorney? Anyone who sends my friend to the ER by accident should be happy to have a lawyer clean it up," I said. "If it's a real site and a real mistake, they'll need a real explanation." He nodded, forced. "Okay." I forwarded the thread to Liz with the subject. "Ethan's collector emails. Likely facade. Ruiz wants copies, Ethan," I said. After a minute of watching him build a bridge he couldn't cross. "Did you know what was in the bottle?" "No," he said, fast. "God. Dad. No. Detective Ruiz is ruled. Show your cards until you're ready to lose. The hand sat heavy in my pocket. So did the video. So did a crescent scar that I'd paid for twice, once in the ER, once in the station's back room. "Okay," I said. "Then help me help you. Give Detective Ruiz the site, your login, your texts. Walk with her into the pack and ship with your receipt. If you bought a leg of a table, they'll find the vendor. If you carved the leg yourself, we'll know too." He stared at the legal pad like it had done something to him. "What do you think of me?" he asked suddenly, raw around the edges. "I think you're my son," I said. "I think you brought a bottle into my life that nearly took a good man out of his. I think sometimes men do egregious things and then decide not to be that man anymore. I think sometimes they don't. I want you to be the first story. The only way to be it is to say the sentence that breaks your own heart and then keep showing up." He swallowed. "He isn't a crier. He should have been when he was small. I should have let him be. I'll give her everything," he said. "I didn't." He stopped again. "Because you can't say I didn't forever when you're out of money for the rest of the sentence." We sat with it. You don't break a man by telling him something before he can hear it. You let the room do the work, and you make sure there's water and you don't pour anything you can't pronounce. 10 minutes after he left, Detective Ruiz texted, "We got the audio. Your son told the clerk, make sure it goes today. It's for my dad. He'll love it." That sentence didn't prove intent. It proved presence. Sometimes that's all you need to move the next piece into place, Liz called. "Forwarded emails are spoofed," she said. "Headers point to a Proton mail burner. The site doesn't resolve on sex notice filings. It's a facade. Let Ruiz do her job. Monday we move your accounts into a revocable trust, update POAs, and set up an education trust for your granddaughter. We'll also put a no disbursements to family members note on your bank, unless you're physically present with ID, and say chimes. Already did the bank, I said. Good, she said. Bring me coffee. I'll write the letters. At 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed me awake. I don't use Do Not Disturb. Old habits die when you need them to. It was Grace. He's asleep. I'm not. I know what you smell when you smell almonds. Tell me the truth only, I typed. Antifreeze was in the bottle. He bought it and shipped it. Police have video. I don't know why. Not yet, she replied. Thank you. I'll keep Ellie from pouring anything for anyone. See you at 10. The next day, Detective Ruiz met Ethan at the station with a polite voice and a camera on. He showed her his emails, his bank app, his texts. He handed her a receipt of pecan chip stub that said $32.75 and nothing else. She asked to see his hands. The camera didn't need the scar, but it took it anyway. We're going to talk to the clerk, she said. You should call an attorney. I didn't do anything, he said automatically. You should call an attorney, she said again. Like a person offering a life jacket to a man who insists he's a fish. He didn't. He walked into the sun yelling at no one, and the wind blew his words back in his face. By afternoon, Robert was flirting with nurses and demanding pancakes. I told him we'd make them when he was home and well enough to burn a few on purpose. He grinned like a man given another day he didn't know he'd earned. I drove home and stood in my kitchen and looked at the wind chimes. I poured water. I drank it. I waited for the sound of a car that might mean two kinds of endings. And, ow. I wrote 3 more lines on the envelope under last night's promises. I will not argue with a camera. I will not drink from a bottle I didn't buy. I will ask for receipts even when they break me. Asterisk, if you've hung in this far, thank you. Here's where the pretty story breaks and the real one holds. By Wednesday noon, Detective Ruiz had the clerk's statement and the audio. We sat again in the little gray room with coffee that tasted like persistence. On the screen, the pack and ship counter. Same grainy camera. The clerk's voice, clear as a church bell. You want it to go today? A man's voice is enshrined to keep everything easy. Yeah. Make sure it goes today. It's for my dad. He'll love it. No violence in the words. That's the problem with some kinds of harm. It borrows the sound of love so it can get near you. Ruiz clicked pause. That's enough for next steps, she said. We'll ask him in. We'll ask the DA for a warrant on his devices and car. We'll be methodical. Do you need me there? I asked. No, she said. You need to be a witness, not a participant. Robert came home. It's Friday, tired and cranky and alive. Dr. Singh cleared him with a list of pills and a promise. You bought time, she told us. Use it well. Saturday morning, I stood on my porch with a thermos and watched scold a squirrel. UPS rolled up to Robert's place while I was there. Same driver, different box, smaller, green again. The label had Robert's name. No return? Grace met me at the gate, hair tied up like a woman who'd slept on a hospital chair for a week. Another one, she said, voice flat, holding a padded mailer. No card. Every hair on my arm stood. Don't open it, I said. Call Ruiz. Detective Ruiz arrived with a tech in a van that hums like a refrigerator and produces tools like rabbits out of a hat. They swabbed the scene. The tech held a strip to the light like a fortune teller. Glycol positive, he said. We don't have to gamble to be right, Judge. Judge Ruiz said, already dialing. They did what TV pretends is magic in real life, makes look like hard work controlled delivery. The tech slit the bottom seam and swapped the bottle for a weighted decoy with harmless dye in the cap. They dusted the box for prints, resealed it using a heat wand, and set it back on Robert's porch. A second plain car with 2 detectives parked up the street. Ruiz knocked twice like she wanted to borrow sugar, told us to stay inside, and left her number on the counter like a talisman. At 8:42 p.m., a car rolled by slow to slow for a man who wants to look like he's going somewhere else. Robert's porch camera caught the plate. Ruiz had already run it. 2 minutes later, the same car came back and stopped. A man in a hoodie walked up the walk like a person delivering a casserole to a neighbor he doesn't like. He picked up the box and tucked it under his arm like it had a heartbeat. "On me," Ruiz said into her collar. The plain car eased forward. The hoodie got into the driver's seat and put the box on the passenger side with care that made me dizzy. The lights came on blue and very uninterested in other people's opinions. The car rolled to a stop. Detectives approached, polite and inexorable. Hale, Ruiz said evenly when he turned toward her. "Leave the box where it is." "Detective I," he began. "You're on camera," she said. "Step out." He stepped out, hands up. Face trying to find a story that matched the room he'd chosen: street, sirens, small town watching through blinds. The dye bottle had a tamper tab wired under the cap. When Ruiz twisted it, blue leaked. She held up her glove, blue and glowing like a truth you don't want. "Tamper trip," she said aloud, not looking at him. "Chain of custody?" He didn't ask for a lawyer. Men don't. Early. He said the sentence people say when they want the moment to behave differently. "This is not how it looks." "It's exactly how it looks," Ruiz said. "You're under arrest for criminal recklessness and attempted battery by means of a deadly weapon. You will be charged. You will have a chance to speak. Not to me." They took him away while the wind pulled at the leaves by Roberts. Porch and Linda's wind chimes on my house tried to invent a song for nights like this. Grace sat on the bottom step with her face in her hands until her breathing remembered how to be regular. When she looked up, she had the look of a person who has just decided to carry the next mile alone, even if someone walks beside her. "Ellie's at my sister's," she said. I told her this was grown-up business. She asked if she still gets pancakes. I said yes. "Good," I said. It was both not enough and everything we had. Monday morning, Liz slid the trust binder across her desk. We retitled what hadn't yet been retitled. We set Ellie's education trust with a clear rule. Tuition paid to the school, tools paid to the vendor, not to parents. We added a letter to the bank, no disbursements to family members without me physically present and saying the code word, chimes to the branch manager in person. We added a restriction, no acceptance of any power of attorney presented by Ethan Hale, until and unless reviewed and certified by Liz. We sent a short letter to the district attorney. Mr. Hale is a witness willing to cooperate. He requests restitution for medical bills to Robert Carson. He requests the court order substance abuse evaluation and counseling. In lieu of maximum incarceration, I'm not here to throw my son away. I told Liz, I'm here to stop him from throwing other people away, including himself. You can do both, she said gently. You can set a fence and leave a gate. The hardest room wasn't the ER or the station. It was the small glass cube at the jail where they let families sit, across a scratched plastic counter and talk through. A phone that smells like other people's. Breath. Ethan looked smaller than I have ever seen him. Jumpsuit orange has a way of bleaching a man's face. He lifted the receiver like it weighed as much as his whole head. Dad, he said. Not hey, not I can explain. I'm here, I said into the phone. For 15 minutes. He nodded. Lawyers had told him not to explain. He tried anyway. I wanted to make it special, he said. I wanted it to be a big thing you'd remember. I was mad you gave it away. I bought another. I thought if he drank it, it would look like the first was fine. I didn't. He stopped. The word didn't dissolve when it's asked to hold too much. I'm sorry. Came out raw, unshiny? You need a lawyer, I said. Not me. I have one, he said. Public defender. She's good. She told me to shut up. He looked at his hands. The crescent scar caught the fluorescent. I never when did I become this. Not at a table saw, I said. Later, slowly, with help you chose. I didn't do the autopsy. I did the thing men like me learn to do when the beam you're looking at is cracked. You brace it before you talk about blame. Here's how this goes, I said. You plead to what you did. You let them test you for whatever you've been denying. You take the evaluation, do the program, pay Robert's bills, and shut your mouth. After that, show up for pancakes on Sundays, and you pour your own coffee, and you don't put anything in anyone's glass, ever. You go to GA and sit in the back. You apologize to Grace until your tongue gets calluses. You give your daughter the only gift you can afford now, a father who tells the truth even when it burns. I can't pay, he said, looking at the floor. Shame is heavy. It makes floors interesting. You can hang drywall for Carla, I said. She needs a ceiling out back. She pays. You'll take her cash and her sermons, and you won't flinch. You'll pay Robert $20 at a time until the zeros mean less than the trying. He laughed once, accidentally. She scares me, he said. She should, I said. So, do I pick the fear that keeps you alive? He put his forehead on the glass like a boy. Does Ellie hate me? He asked. Ellie wants pancakes, I said. She wants you to be there and not make it about you. He nodded, like a man finishing a part of a bridge he's been secretly building without a permit. The guard tapped the glass. Time, I'll be in the courtroom, I said. If you tell the truth, not if you spin. He held my gaze for once. Okay, he said. Grace and I met with Detective Ruiz and the DA. They walked us through the next week's arraignment, probable cause, hearing, plea conditions. Ruiz spoke quietly like a person who has delivered too many hard packages and will keep doing it because someone has to. He's charged with attempted battery by means of a deadly weapon and criminal recklessness, she said. The DA is open to a plea with treatment, restitution, and a no-contact order with Robert until Mr. Carson wants otherwise. Restitution, I said. We'll ask that it start with the ER bills and end with the ER bill chimes. Not waking me up at 2 a.m., the DA smiled in a way that wasn't a smile. A judge will like that sentence, she said. 3 weeks later, in a courtroom with a carpet that has seen everything and a clock that can't be late, Ethan stood and pled guilty. He admitted sending the first bottle and picking up the replacement, admitted cash at the pack and ship, admitted he knew enough about cars to know what antifreeze does to a body. Grace squeezed my hand. Robert sat on the aisle with a face like a plumb line. Made me carry a Tupperware in like we were going to a potluck. Walt wore a shirt with buttons and still looked like he could pick up a door with one hand. The judge read the words he had to read. 2 years suspended, he said. 18 months probation. Substance abuse evaluation and compliance. GA. Attendance. Restitution to Mr. Carson. No contact with Mr. Carson absent his written consent. No gifts involving consumables to any person without the prior written approval of your probation officer. He looked up over his readers. Mr. Hale, do you understand what landed you here? Yes, Your Honor, Ethan said. He didn't look at me. He didn't need to. The judge eyed him a beat longer. You will earn back the right to pour someone a drink, he said. Start with water. Outside. Indiana. Did its sky trick the one where it looks like it might break into rain and decides to see if you're paying attention first? Robert shook Ethan's hand. You owe me pancakes, he said. And a new liver filter? I'll make both, Ethan said, managing not to smile. Start with pancakes, Robert said, and left with grace like a man who had decided not to carry extra weight for no reason. We went home. Dot set deviled eggs on my table like a proclamation. Walt fixed the stubborn screen door because he couldn't stand it one more day. Grace brought Ellie at 6 with a backpack full of books and a level, because the world had not yet learned what happens when you set down things that keep you straight. We made pancakes. We burned 2 on purpose. Ellie drew faces with blueberries and one that looked like Detective Ruiz. You're not putting that on the internet, Grace said. And we all laughed too hard. When the plates were mostly empty and the house had remembered it could hold laughter again, I wrote the last 3 lines on my envelope. Under the others, I will pour my own. Coffee, I will believe almond once. I will keep the gate. And the fence. I put the envelope in the drawer with Linda's recipe cards and the thermos. Lid that doesn't quite seal anymore. The wind chimes on the porch stirred a little and then went still. On Sunday, we brought pancakes to Robert's porch. He ate one like a man doing research. Acceptable, he said gravely. Needs more practice. We'll be here next Sunday, Ellie said. We practice. She's right. We practice. Show up. We make the batter and watch for the bubbles and flip when it's time. We carry thermoses and legal pads and apologies that finally learn their shape. We drink water. We pour it ourselves. We let rooms hold us accountable. And if a gift arrives that looks like a gesture and smells like something else, we don't argue with it. We call the detective. We call the bank. We set the code word. We pour it down a lab sink. We serve coffee from a clean mug. And when someone asks how the whiskey was, we say, it wasn't. We're still here. Chimes.